Hello, my friends. We're here to do the Polar Express learning again. It's so fun. I wanted to get out my box again and I'm going to show you what we're going to be working on today. So we have in here what we worked on last time, which was our vocabulary words. We started here. Today, these are two brand new things we get to work on. We have a flow map like this that shows you from the beginning down to the end of our story. And then we have our pictures here. We have a boy in a robe, a man that's a conductor with a train, a Santa Claus, a special bell, a pocket, and a present. So as we read through our story, I want you to be thinking about where these might fit in order in our story. All right, we are reading our story one more time. This is The Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg. Our I Can statement today is I can retell a story with pictures. All right. On Christmas Eve many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. That means move them quietly. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me that I would never hear. The ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and I saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. So remember, that's the first part. He's in his room and he sees the train out his window. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest. A pocket watch is a special watch that stays in your pocket. And then he looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and my robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outstretched hand and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols, ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. Remember what we learned? Those are a white, soft candy with nuts inside. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. All right. So we had the boy in his room, then we had the train, then we had them in the train car eating nougat and cocoa in their jammies. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. Remember, lean means that they are thin and they haven't eaten very much lately. And the wilderness is where it's mostly trees and wildlife. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks, remember that's the tops of the mountains, and through valleys, that's down here in the lower parts, down here, like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. A barren desert means it's empty and there's nothing that's living or growing well there. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. "There," said the conductor, "there is the North Pole." The North Pole, it was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first we saw no elves. They are gathering at the corner of the city. They are gathering at the center of the city, the conductor told us. I'm going to start that over. The North Pole, It was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first we saw no elves. They are gathering at the center of the city, the conductor told us. That's where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas. Who receives the first gift? We all asked. The conductor answered, he will choose one of you. There's the North Pole. Look, shouted one of the children. The elves! Oh, look down here. Can you see that? Outside, we saw hundreds of elves as our train drew closer in the center of the North Pole. We slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we stopped, and the conductor led us outside. Can you see this is the train right in the center, and all these elves are all around it. So no wonder they had to go slow. They didn't want to run over anyone. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. If they cheered wildly, that means they're very, very excited. And when it says that the reindeer pranced and paced, that means they kind of stomped their feet. They might try walking back and forth because they have a lot of energy that's excited in their bodies, and they want to get their energy out. He marched over to us and pointed to me. He said, let's have this fellow here. Remember, fellow means a boy or a man. He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee, and he asked, now what would you like for Christmas? I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the one thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood holding the bell high above him, and he called out, the first gift of Christmas. All right, so remember, the bell. That's something that's part of our pictures we're remembering, right? And who's this guy? Santa. So we started seeing Santa here. And then we have the bell. So the bell comes after Santa, right? All right. A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. That means they were shouting and singing and cheering really loudly. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. Where did he put it? That's right, in his pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh, and Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us and disappeared into the cold, dark polar sky. Oh man, that'd be so fun to see. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. Let's hurry outside and look for it, one of the children said, but the train gave a sudden lurch, remember that's a movement, and it started moving. We were on our way home. Oh, that boy must feel so sad, huh? And those other friends are sad for him. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and I waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. What? I yelled out, and he cupped his hands around his mouth. Merry Christmas, he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened the presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped... Oh, let's go back and look. What are they opening? They're opening presents. That's right. My little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked like everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C. Who do you think Mr. C is? Yep, me too. It's Santa Claus. I shook the bell, and it made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I had shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. And they're making an inference there. That means they're not telling us everything, but they're helping us understand something special about the bell. Who can hear the bell and who can't? That's right. If you believe in Santa, you can hear the bell. If you don't believe anymore, you can't hear it. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me, as it does for all who truly believe. All right. What a wonderful story. Thank you for listening. All right, I have set out for you the supplies you'll need. You'll need scissors. You'll need some coloring pencils or crayons. You'll need a glue stick, and you'll need to have all your pieces colored and cut out. Once you get that done, you're going to put them on in the order you think that they happened. So this is where it's really important for you to think through the parts of the story. And I want you to kind of look here at what we have. We have the boy in his jammies waving to someone. We have the bell. We have the hole in the pocket. We have the conductor and the train. We have a gift that was given under the tree. And we have Santa Claus. So remember, it helps sometimes to think of what came first and what came last, and then go from there to fill in the middle. So I've looked at this carefully because I had to really think it through. And I remember the boy said hello to someone. He said hello to the conductor, and he said hello to his new friends on the train when he was wearing his pajamas. This is where he was given the bell. So he was given the bell in this part. Remember, he found the bell was missing because he had a hole in his pocket. This is where he met the conductor when the conductor pulled up in front of his home. This is when he opened the Christmas present with his sister, and it was a bell inside. And this is where he meets Santa, and Santa gives him the first gift of Christmas. So I was thinking that the first one, I really tried to decide which one it was, this one or this one. And I believe in our story, yes, he was wearing jammies up in his room, but he wasn't waving to anyone there. So I think he had to have someone to wave to first. So that's why I think that the conductor and the train probably came first, and then the boy could wave to him. Okay, so I think that the train and conductor is first. Then let's see what was last. So he waved to someone, he received a gift of a bell, he had a hole in his pocket, he got a present, and he met Santa. What do you think would have come last? Remember, last is going to be all the way down here because those arrows are pointing for us this direction. So all the way down there. What do you think would have been last? So he got the bell when he was in the North Pole. He found a hole in his pocket at the North Pole. He met Santa at the North Pole. He said hello to new friends when he was in his yard at the beginning of the story. So the only one left that could be last would be this one, because he received the present under his tree with his sister, and that had the bell inside. So I'm not going to tell you all the ones that go in the middle. I'm going to let you figure that out. You'll have them colored and cut out. Just glue each one on their spot. You're going to do all of them. I did too. Your job is to do all 6. Glue them on where they go in the correct order and turn them into your teacher. Nice job.